On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, we learned that supernatural math is just as hard as regular math. For example,
how many entities can you fit in a vessel? One archangel? One demon? One angel? Who knows? Let's do this. Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
I'm Liz.
And we're going to talk about Season 11, Episode 18, Hell's Angel.
Yes, Hell. It could be Hell's Missing an Angel. No, just Hell's Angel, I guess. Meh. It's a title they had.
It is a title. What have you been up to? Since
Watering dirt.
Watering dirt. Has it been fruitful?
No. The dirt will not stay wet. The dirt's supposed to be damp, and I can't make the dirt damp. And also, damp dirt's just fucking mud. So I'm like, am I just supposed to be making mud all the time? So to make this clear, I have put in grass. Somebody put in grass seedlings. I did not put in this. Someone else put in dirt and grass seedlings on part of my grass. And then I was like, wait, what do I do with this? And they're like, you got to water it every day. I'm like, fuck. I have not been watering it every day. So I think I'm going to talk to the people who put in the irrigation system and be like, hey buddies,
Help.
can you add something over here?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's pretty much I feel like I do that. I am doing it every day. So I feel that that's my life right now, is walking around with a hose or a sprinkler, depending on how I feel that time.
That's exciting.
And just watering dirt and moving from and trying to make hoses not kink.
Oh God,
dirty kinky hoses.
I'm
shaming my kinked hoses for shame.
Yeah,
I'm kink
shaming your hose.
What have you been up to?
I made a quick trip down to Austin to see some music at Arlen Studios, but that was pretty fun, quick trip. And then I went back to the State Fair of Texas, which is super fun again, but this time with my niece. So we got to share in our joint appreciation of cotton candy and baby animals at the petting zoo and go down a giant slide.
Those are all good things. I'm glad nobody got stuck on the giant slide.
Yeah, no getting stuck on the giant slide. I did have to go up a lot of steps, which was unpleasant.
Yeah, that's the thing about, to go up, to go down, you have to go up.
You do.
Unless you're in a pulley system.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's about it in my little world. We're just getting ready for the Invasion car show. Oh, and then I bought a bunch of Halloween shit at Target. It was good. I was excited. I
have all their birds.
I bought 2 birds. Dave really wanted one of them. He wanted Shady really bad. And that's the one that looks like it's got like cat ears on. It's really silly looking.
It's
like a bird in a cat costume.
Yes, I have them. Yeah, they're all adorable, and I couldn't choose. So, and I justify by saying I put them in my mother's house. So they're in my mom's house. So I'm decorating
they're a gift,
her
really.
house. So they're a gift, yes. So not just me over consuming stupid birds that I only. And the thing is, they'll stay out most of the time. The persons who came over to help. That's the other thing I've been doing, is just assembling furniture. I have so many more things to assemble, and the people who came over to bring my new couch, because I finally got a couch, which is nice. Sitting on the floor was not fun, but they're like, this place is giving a very Halloween-y vibe, and My place isn't even decorated.
I was gonna say this is your year-round vibe. This is not,
and
it's
not even my decorated year-round vibe. It's just me having like shit thrown everywhere that just happens to be all spooky.
So spooky.
So spooky. They also said that my home smelled like herb oil. And I will just let that. You can just determine what herb oil is. And then I think they meant essential oils, but herb oil also works.
Sure.
So that's what's going on in our lives. In the SPN land, not a ton is going on. There's the sad news that Countdown was canceled, but Padalecki got a commercial with Logan from Gilmore Girls, and they filmed it. It was for Panera Bread, so at least that's coming
Kyle,
out.
right?
They filmed it in Kyle like a couple of weeks ago. So there'll be a new Padalecki Panera Bread commercial, and they still haven't put a release date on The Boys, but yep. So that's pretty much what's going on in their world. Conventions are still happening. So let's talk about this episode. So this episode, like I said, with the title of Hell's Angel, which is a play on, I'm not going to tell you it's a play on. That's you're smarter than that. So it is the 18th episode of season 11 and first aired on April 6, 2016 and was written by the illustrious Brad Buckner and Eugenie Ross Lemming and directed by Phil Sgriccia. And we start this off in Saudi Arabia. So we're in the desert.
Yes. And we've got this guy walking to a tent with a big water, what do you call those? It's a big water tank, like carrier tank. And I know what they're called and I can't think of it.
Camelback?
That's not.
I was making a bad joke about it being in the desert.
I know.
Anyways.
I know.
So, anyhow, they're amid inside this tent and they're about to eat when it just starts to shake, shake, shake.
And Crowley's there. What? And he says, "Where is he?" And they pull back a curtain and there's this guy like dying in a bed. And apparently he sold his soul for a good life. And at the time, it seemed like it was worth it. But now, not so.
And it always seems like a good idea at the time. And Crowley does have his contract with him. And so he looks like Crowley's going to make a trade for this contract for something this guy has.
Yeah. And this guy has a hand of God. It is the horn of Joshua. And and Crowley can tell that it's authentic by like smelling and sensing its power or something.
He can feel its authentic power just radiating off of it.
Yeah. And this guy's like, I know I'm going to die. And Crowley's like, here's your contract torn up. And by the way, I'm going to snap your neck.
No. And does that really end your contract?
Well, like he ripped the contract up. So if the contract, here's the thing, like, okay, you sold your soul to the devil.
You're still not going to go to heaven.
Right? That's my thing. I'm like, you made a bad choice. You think you're going to heaven now just because you got your soul back? Or were you trying to do some good shit at the very end to try to balance the shit out?
And I don't think he did, based on the company that he was keeping that all try and point, that all have guns that they point at Crowley. I'm sorry, yes. They maybe don't look like the nicest of fellas.
They don't. And the three guys are pointing their guns at Crowley, and then he uses his Crowley magic to make them point the guns at each other and kill themselves-ish.
Each other.
Kill each other? Not selves.
Yeah, they kill each other. So he does that, and we cut from that to him walking in the rain. And I feel like he would have some way to not be wet.
Yeah, it's weird.
He's Crowley.
Choice.
Yeah,
I just made these guys shoot each other, and now he can't keep himself from getting rained on.
Like he can't put like a little umbrella over his head, or I don't know. So
conjure a real umbrella? I don't know.
Something. But so he does that, and he's on the phone with Dean, and he's very happy about the fact that he's got the solution.
Yeah. In fact, he's so glad. Dean should be doing a jig, but Dean doesn't do jigs.
He doesn't jig. He uses jig as a verb, which I appreciate. I guess it is a verb, but.
And he's like, how do I know that Lucifer is not making you, like, orchestrating this, making you call me now and tell me this shit? Like, how do I know that you're actually, like, legit? And Crowley's like, why on earth why would Lucifer even do that, number one? But also, no way. And we see an SUV full of armed demons hunting for Crowley on the street. So Crowley is like, look, I have this energy weapon that's powerful enough to destroy the darkness and destroy Lucifer. And he poofs himself up to a spot out of the rain and out of line of sight of the demons and basically hangs up on Dean. So.
Yep. And we cut from there to Amara. And Amara is undergoing some sort of Reiki.
Yes. Courtesy of Rowena?
Who isn't dead. Hooray.
What? Crazy. And she's explaining that she just uses natural forces to help the less fortunate. That's so Rowena.
It is. She is a giver.
Yeah. And Amara's like, yeah, but I also know your Uncle Crowley's mother.
Oh, Uncle Crowley. And that makes Amara really confused about Rowena helping her. And she is always confused about people helping her because people always fuck Amara over. If I was Amara, I wouldn't trust anybody either.
Yeah, but they don't trust her. So it's kind of like,
well, she's the darkness, but I mean, at least she's like
an egg here.
But she's not deceiving. She's not lying. At least like she's straightforward. And if she says she's going to do something, she's going to do something. Right. But Rowena, she is talking about the fact that she actually knows Lucifer and she knows Lucifer well.
Mm-hmm. And she's got her own axe to grind, but she is a survivor. And, she had all this powerful magic prepped in advance, stored in a line in her thigh. So that when Lucifer tried to kill her, her magic revived her when it felt her dying. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so she basically has that embedded inside of her, and even
it was like it was like a safety switch.
Yeah, and so even though when she's coming back to life, her makeup still looks amazing, which is why I have sparkly eyeshadow on tonight, and I lined my eyes with it like she did because it looked really cute. So Amara wants to go after Lucifer, but Rowena's like, no, we got to fix you first. And why she wants to do this is she wants to be by her side when she rules. So Rowena has now is now playing the Amara side because she thinks that's the one that's going to win in the fight.
Yep.
Sort of.
And Sam and Dean are entering a very cobwebby warehouse. Very cobwebby. It's a lot. And Crowley is there waiting for them. And he's like, I'm lucky to be alive after Lucifer trusts me like a dog in my own palace. Dean's like, a palace? You mean the nut house? So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, and he tells them all their woes, and they just don't seem sad. And he's like, fine. Well, what about the fact I've got the horn of Joshua? And they're like, well, where's your if?
Mm-hmm. And he has an if, of course. And his if is he wants them to get rid of Lucifer first. That's his if. You can have the horn of Joshua if you get Lucifer back in the cage.
And... yeah, and they're like, well, we can't do that because the first time we did that, we had Rowena and we had the book, and we don't have those things now. And where is Rowena? And he's like, well, her neck was snapped by Lucifer, so we don't have her. Oops. And so they think that that's a problem. So while they're just determining that, we flip away from there up to heaven.
Yeah. And we've got just Jophiel is the angel walking down the hallway. And I guess this is checking on different people's heavens. He's got this device that he presses to the doors and checks. It's I guess is he QC? Is he heaven QC?
I guess so.
Walking down the hall. And suddenly Lucifer is there. And he's immediately recognized. And he's like, oh, heaven's most wanted, possessed by heaven's most hated.
Yes, so the Lucifer is really making an entrance into heaven. But poor Jophiel, he just does not know when to keep his mouth shut, and so he gets smote.
Yeah, real fast. That's kind of crazy. He gets, I guess we knew that. But he just got smoted in heaven.
Yeah, the heaven smote. Well, it is by Lucifer. I don't know. So the angels, though, now, they have all gathered around Lucifer, who is taunting them about their smiting failures.
yeah. And they're like, yeah, your lesson is that you need me. So, and they're like, well, you just kind of like smote Joffrey. That wasn't very nice of you.
You exploited
And
him.
yeah. And they're like, remember that God cast you out of heaven because you're supposed to be like super bad? And he's like, oh, that's just a tabloid headline.
Yeah, and it is, the Lucifer argument that he typically makes, that God is the one who is like saying that he's evil, and it is all because he didn't love mankind as much as God loves mankind. And an angel is like, but that's God's creation. And Picassover's like, a Prius is better? Look at all the shit that humans do. Although we did make the Prius. So I don't know, your argument may be moot there.
There's a flaw. There's a flaw in this
There's
logic.
a flaw in your argument. But he does bring up all the shitty things that humans have done, and then they keep getting reboots, right? Maybe we get some sort of flood or a plague, but God keeps just letting us go on being fucktards.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my word, not his.
Well, yes. And then he was... and they're like, but God called you evil incarnate. And he's like, that's just marketing. Can't have a super savior without a super villain.
And not wrong. It makes for a more powerful story and a more powerful myth, when you have a villain like that in there. And we actually look at how rare, Lucifer actually is in the Bible anyhow. So, but Lucifer also is just being like, look, what I can do for you is I can lock Amara away for good. And I have done it before.
Yeah. And they're like, wait, I need clarity on this. What's going to happen after you put her away? I assume you'll want to stick around after that? And he's like, yeah, maybe you could call me God. Gasps all around. Lucifer wants to be God.
Yes. Which is not surprising to anybody. No. Not with his ego the size of heaven. So we cut back to St. Louis, and Dean says the order half of the killing, though. He's like, you can't kill Lucifer first because we need Lucifer in order to get Amara.
Yeah.
But
how are we going to get Amara without that?
Yeah, he cannot get over the fact that he had to clean a floor with his tongue. And so he's just like, no, we got to put him away now.
I'm amused that he shared that with them. Like, you would think that you might not want that outside of the circle of trust of those demons that were there and of Lucifer. But he's like, no, I had to clean the floor with my tongue while I was called puppy. And I'm like, I'm just interested that he shared that mental picture with Sam and Dean.
Yeah, and just giving them fodder in general. And so while Dean is arguing they also need to exorcise Cass out of Lucifer first, that's apparently news to Sam. And Sam then argues with him. And Dean brings up his argument that sometimes during sex, he wants to get slapped by a girl wearing a Zorro mask. And that doesn't mean that that's a good idea. And Crowley really enjoyed that sharing from Dean.
Well, Sam's argument, though, is that it was Castiel's choice and therefore his risk to be possessed because he thought it was the right thing to do to solve this issue. So that's the crux of his argument.
Yeah, and so it's his choice. And so you have to respect Cass's choice.
Yeah. And then Crowley's just pretty annoyed listening to them bicker in general. And he's like, fine, I'm just going to keep the horn hidden until y'all agree with me. And Lucifer gets back in his cage. That's it. Sorry. That's all Lucifer's got.
Yep, and we switch from that back to wherever Amara and Rowena are.
Which is a very weird place, whatever it is. It looks kind of something like hell-ish, but it's like, I don't know. It's very tall ceilings. That's what I know.
It's very tall.
Very tall ceilings and a lot of stone or concrete work. She's, I don't know. It's a weird scene. Rowena's kind of happy. Amara's asking questions and just isn't really like convinced, is confused at Rowena's kindness because she doesn't sense or care because she doesn't sense kindness in her. An interesting observation.
Yeah, and Rowena aptly says that kindness does not get you a seat at the big boys table. So she is just going, knowing like what she has to do in order to get the place that she wants to be. And the first thing, though, that she wants is revenge on Lucifer. And she wants to be there when the universe is remade in Amara's taste.
Yeah, and Amara's kind of like, a lot of people don't really like my taste. Are you sure about that?
It's kind of catastrophic. But then she's like, what the Winchesters call destruction, I call renovation, which, you know, sometimes you do have to burn things down in order to rebuild them. So Rowena, though, is just doing Rowena stuff, right? And she's trying to be useful, tell Amara all the things that she can do for her.
Look how useful I am. Please don't kill me. That's what Rowena's doing. I'm going to make you better. Please don't kill me because I can help.
Well, I don't think Rowena at this point really understands how scary Amara is. I think at this point she's not really, like, she's just trying to get on her good side, right? And I think she like knows she's like powerful, but I don't think she really understands, because we'll see that, you know, as we're going through. And
Agreed.
Rowena does make the mistake of trying to touch Amara. And like Amara's like, the fuck you doing? And I know I've made that face so many times when people try to touch me. And Rowena then just like pulls her hand back, is like, oh, was just smoothing out my face here and wasn't touching you.
No, I wouldn't do that. Clearly you don't want me to touch you. Super. But she's like, I can be your friend and your confidant. She didn't say friend, but that's basically what she's trying to be like.
Your pal and your confidant. They want to be Golden Girls together. So Amara's like, I feel pretty good. I want to test some shit out.
Yeah. But Lucifer has finished his angel meeting up in heaven at this point. And he's like, y'all, he's talking about like using a bunch of corporate speak as they leave the room and kind of like giving them like, you're on my team. You're my kind of guy. Like, get your team on board. It's just real awkward as they're all leaving. But one had been kind of questioning him a lot. And he's kind of stops him and is like, I want your people on our side. And he who hesitates disintegrates. This is hot take for that. Poor guy. Poor angel. Yeah. I don't know. Either
That's
way.
his new motivational poster.
Yeah. Sam is cursing out Crowley, calling it a dick move for him to hide the horn until they get Lucifer put away. But Crowley's like, I don't have to be reasonable because I'm a fucking king. Sorry. And as all of this is happening, Amara decides to flex. She's going to flex.
Yep, she wants to get some stuff off her chest.
Whew. And she stands in the middle of the room and yells, hear me. And I probably could have done it. She goes, hear me. And then heaven's shaking. There's black clouds shooting down the hallways in heaven. Sam and Dean hear a bunch of clanking around and things are shaking. We've got angels running around in heaven. We've got all kinds of this black smoke chasing them. Lucifer's grinning on the floor. And outside of the warehouse, Sam, Dean, and Crowley see these crazy ass storm clouds. It's chaos.
It is, but Lucifer is going to use that to his political advantage.
Yeah, because Lucifer's like, no, this is payback for smiting her and just a little taste of what she's got. This is why you need me. Basically what he's saying.
And, you know, and basically and also reiterates that God doesn't care about them.
Right. And Amara is just happy as can be. She's like, I'm back. Yay. Thanks, Rowena.
And Rowena is now terrified.
Now she's scared, as she should be. As she should be. Late to the party, girl.
I think she really like has finally figured out what the fuck she has gotten herself into. Even though this mess was already big before, this is maybe even more than Rowena can handle. But in order to try and keep being useful, she is going to use her eyeballs in the back of her head to listen to Sam and Dean.
Yes. And so Sam and Dean and Crowley are still talking about what's going on. He's like, she rattled heaven with a flick of a pinky. That's a really big, just reality they're just discussing what a big deal this is. And Rowena's watching this. And Dean's like, look, you've got to give us the horn so we can give it to Lucifer so he can take care of Amara. And Rowena's remote viewing all of this.
She is. Nice callback. And so while she's doing that, then Amara is like, okay, so what'd you see? So she can't share like her viewing with Amara. So Amara doesn't know what she saw. And Rowena lies and tells her that the Winchesters are paralyzed with fear. And so now we know like Rowena is now double crossing everybody because it's Rowena.
Yeah. Double cross. And Crowley at the warehouse is just super annoyed that Sam and Dean are convinced that Lucifer's the only one that can use the horn on Amara. And they're like, yeah, and we need the horn for that plan. And he's like, no, my offer stands. You got to get rid of Lucifer first, and then you can have the horn. And he's like, we had
round and round and round.
We had Rowena in the book before, and that's what we need. And so then as they're standing there, it like letters start like appearing on this metal door next to him. And it says, back from the dead, Fergus.
Which is such a nicer messaging device in a blood bowl. And I do feel like AC/DC or something should have been playing when that happened.
It was pretty metal.
Yeah. So in order to meet up with Rowena, we have to go to another or the same, I'm not sure, just an abandoned church.
Another church, yes. And so
it could be the same one from before. I don't know.
They could. So we got a big old sigil on the floor. They're painting, and Rowena's there with them. So now we've got Sam and Dean and Rowena, and Crowley shows up with the horn. And Dean's like, we still, we should be using it, not just enticing with it, but anyways, Crowley doesn't give a shit. Crowley's sticking with his plan. They agreed to it, is the implication, and that's what we're doing. And
Sam's just not impressed with the horn, and Crowley's still not impressed with Sam. But also like the horn, like put it in a box. Y'all keep getting these hands of God and just like carrying them around in like paper towels, and at least it was in aluminum foil or something.
Crowley got it out of a box. Why did he not take the box with him? It was a very odd choice in Saudi Arabia for him to just leave the box.
Because you're not supposed to be touching. I mean, I guess maybe it's easier to hide that in your pants if you don't.
Just thinking about trying to like shove that horn in your pants but not touch your skin. I don't know. That seems like a lot.
Yep.
That seems like a lot.
It should be in a box.
Should be in a box. Oh my gosh. So Dean's doing a spell incantation to summon Lucifer.
Well, wouldn't it be fun if you could summon Lucifer? Because you can. So we're going to talk about summoning Lucifer. Before we do that, though, there's one thing I want to say. There was something that was kind of wrong in the canon there, because Crowley is talking about the warding and the oil, and he says that it's only going to keep an archangel for a minute, which contradicts earlier when Gabriel and Raphael would be stuck in there forever. So just want to point that out, that's something to think about as we're going. When he goes in there later and the fire starts burning down, is that because it's Lucifer or is that what? But that was a discontinuity from earlier. So anyways, now we're going to talk about some lore and talk about summoning Lucifer. So we're going to talk about Le Dragon Rouge, which is the Grand Grimoire, also known as the Red Dragon. And this magic book has editions that go back to at least 1421, purportedly, but really the first known edition was likely produced around 1750. it became the first mass market grimoire and really profited from the growth of bookstores and the rise of these things called chapbooks, which were cheap printable booklets, so people could actually just get things to kind of read around, right? There is an anecdote that one of these guys, a bibliophile, acquired 2 copies for 5 sous in 1818, and that bookseller told him that he had sold hundreds of copies to people all over the countryside. But I think that was just an anecdote and maybe not necessarily true. But some thought that just owning a grimoire like this offered magical protection. Others used their copies to impress people and defraud them. And just possession of these books could convince other people that you were a magical adept. The clergy, of course, were not fans and said anyone possessing or desiring such a book was committing a grave blasphemy. So even just thinking about this book was a bad, bad sin.
Wild.
But it was so popular that in 1868, it was translated into Italian as Il vero Drago Rosso. And in German, it was Der Wahrhaftiger Führer. I know I'm not going to say it. So it was a true fiery dragon. And so this is a popular enough book that it's getting published in multiple countries across Europe and being translated. It's primarily taken from the Keys of Solomon, and within its pages are instructions for a karcist or a sorcerer to summon and make a pact with Lucifugé Rofocale, who is a demon that commands the earth's riches and treasures and who can help you secure the service of more demons. And if you can't make a proper magical circle or a wand, aka the blasting rod, then the book will tell you how to make a pact. But you can't make a pact with Lucifer, Beelzebub, or Astaroth. With those, you have to make them with their lieutenants. Do not confuse Lucifugé Rofocale, however, with the Nicaraguan black metal band either, if you're trying to summon him. So you can summon the metal band or you can summon Lucifugé. So we're going to discuss some of the things in Le Dragon Rouge, and our version for tonight comes from the digital edition by Joseph H. Peterson that was updated in 2023, and the majority of the English translation is from the Book of Black Magic and Pacts by Arthur Edward White, and portions of the translation were supplied by Peterson. So there are a lot of different versions of this book, and there's a lot of this is the real one and this is a fake one, So this one, I just enjoyed some of the content of it. So the Grand Grimoire, or also the art of controlling celestial, aerial, terrestrial, and infernal spirits with the true secret of speaking with the dead, winning whenever playing the lottery, discovering hidden treasures, etc. And then it says it was printed from a manuscript of 1522, which we know is So the first chapter explains that unlike the other books that are out there to steal money from the dumb, this one is legit and comes directly from the genuine writings of the mighty King Solomon. This book will teach you the evocation of all hierarchies of spirit by the recitation of certain sublime appellations, honorifics, and teach you how to make the dreadful blasting rod, which causes spirits to tremble. Chapter 2 prepares you to make a rod and how to make pacts. So there's some rules for this. 1, you must go a week without women. This doesn't say what to do if you are a woman, because what silly tart thinks she can do magic? Number 2, whenever you start your magical quarter, which I'm assuming is like a moon phase, you got to pray twice a day to the Grand Master of Spirits, either at noon at midnight or at 7 in the morning and 7 p.m. Then after that, you eat dinner, you take off your clothes, and then instead of sleeping, you meditate continually of what you're about to do. So on number 3, on the morning after the first night of the quarter, you go to a druggist and you get a hematite bloodstone. Okay, first you find a druggist. Then you find one that carries hematite. I suggest California. Then you carry that around in case of an accident. And in expectation that the spirit, quote, whom it is proposed to compel and bind will henceforth do all in his power to overwhelm the operator with terror so as to incite him to abandon the enterprise, hoping in this manner to escape from the wiles which are about to be woven about him. It says to do this with, but it doesn't say like how to use the stone to keep that from scaring you. It just says to have the stone. So, Step number 4, buy a virgin goat to be decapitated on the 3rd day of the moon. But before you do that, tie a garland of vervain around its neck and secure it with a green ribbon. The sacrifice must be offered on the scene of the coming evocation, a forlorn and isolated spot free from all interruption. Not spot free. I mean, I guess it should be spot free, but you should also be free from interruption.
Yes.
The magician must have his right arm bared to the shoulder. So asymmetrical clothing is really good here. You start a fire with oak wood and you need to have a steel knife. Then you recite the following. There's a bunch of words that you gotta say, and then you have to slit the goat's throat. Then you set it on fire. Then you burn it to ashes, but not before you take off the skin so you can make a circle later. Poor goat. Chapter 3. That tells you how to make the mysterious wand, otherwise known as the destroying rod or the blasting rod. So this is going to teach you how to make your magical rod. Number 1. On the eve of the enterprise, go in search of a wand or rod of wild hazel, which has never borne fruit and is 19.5 inches long. I suggest Etsy.
Very specific.
It is very specific. And unless you have hazel growing in your yard, but actually you may need to do this because of what happens next. Because when you have met with the wand in the required form, touch it not. Otherwise than with your eyes. So if you already touched it, you fucked it up. All right. So you have to not touch it, and so you have to watch it until morning. So you stay there with your wand, with your rod.
Staring at a stick all night?
You stare at the stick all night. And then as soon as the sun rises, you strip it of its leaves and lesser branches. And you also have to the knife is supposed to be stained with the sacrifice of the blood of the goat. Because you weren't supposed to have wiped that blade. So if you wiped that blade earlier, sorry, you have to start over and go kill another goat. But you've got to do it with the quarter, so the whole thing. So make sure you read these instructions all the way through.
Yeah.
Number 2. So, okay, the sun's risen. You've cut your stick. You recite some more stuff. You infuse your rod with the strength of Samson, some demons and some things. And then you have to keep your eyes toward the rising sun, finish cutting your rod and take it home. So while you stare directly at the sun, use this knife to cut a rod. You'll be fine. Trust me. Number 4.
You're already sleep deprived.
You're already sleep deprived. Then, after you've done that, you've got to go look for a piece of ordinary wood, shape the 2 ends to resemble your actual rod, and then take it to an ironsmith. Okay, first you got to find an ironsmith. Again, I suggest Etsy. You have them wield the steel blade of the sacrificial knife into 2 pointed caps and affix them to the ends, right? So you now have this stick with some caps on it. Number 5, you go home. You take the ends off that stick and then you put them on your real rod. Then you get a piece of lodestone. They didn't say to get lodestone earlier, but you got to get some lodestone. And you magnetize the steel ends of that while you say some more words. Did you know that you can use lodestone to magnetize shit? So you're going to take your lodestone, right? And you're going to magnetize your steel ends while you say more words. Then the next night, you're going to collect your rod, the goat skin, the bloodstone, the 2 garlands of vervain. Oh shit, I forgot to tell you to keep those 2. Also, it was 2 garlands, even though I only told you 1. I didn't say that, but it was supposed to be 2. Anyways, you also need 2 candlesticks and 2 candles that are made of virgin wax by a virgin girl and duly blessed. You need a new knife because you destroyed that other one. You need 2 new flints with enough kindle to start a fire, a half a bottle of brandy, some blessed incense and camphor, and 4 nails from the coffin of a dead child. Carry all of those to your area of the great circle, and then put everything down in this very exact, specific, general way, or nothing is going to work. All right, so we're into chapter 4 now.
These instructions are terrible.
Yes, I think something may have been lost in translation. Hopefully. The Dragon Rouge has some issues. But okay, so number 4 tells you how to make the circle. You got to make the circle right. So you make a circle using strips of the goat skin, which you nail to the ground with the 4 nails. Then you take the bloodstone. You trace a triangle within the circle, starting at the eastern point. You may need a compass. The shopping list is really missing a lot of stuff. Okay. Then you draw a large A, a small E, a small A, and a small J. So that way the spirits can't harm you come from behind. Then the sorcerer and his assistants, because oh my God, they're assistants now.
Where did that come from?
Fearless. I don't know, but now you have people. So now the sorcerer and the assistants get to go into their places in the triangle, ignoring any noises they hear. And they set the 2 candlesticks and the vervain crowns because you were supposed to put them into crowns.
Not just garlands, now they're crowns.
Not just garlands. Maybe your assistants can do that. Yeah. So then you put the candles on and the crowns on the right and the left sides of the triangle and the circle. Then you light the candles and put a new brazier, not a bra, a brazier. And so that also wasn't on the list. But you put that in front of the sorcerer and then you put some new charcoal into that. Seriously, you got to have like Uber Eats coming. Like probably just like, here's your charcoal. Here's all this shit that I forgot to tell you. All right. So then you take the brandy and you drink some. No, it doesn't say that. It says you take the brandy and some of the camphor and you keep some of that for later in case it needs to be stoked. And you throw that into the brazier. And then you say some words about how awesome your incense is. Oh, also you can't be wearing any alloyed metal on you except that you need a gold or a silver coin wrapped in paper. So that you take and you fling it into the spirit when it appears outside your circle. Otherwise it's going to hurt you. Okay, so you're going to have this coin on you that you're throwing into the spirit if it shows up. He's like, here's a coin. Then also your assistants aren't allowed to speak, even if the spirit asks them things. So if they said something, you need to start over because it's ruined. Thanks, Tommy. So if you have not fucked up yet, you say 2 more prayers and you offer up the incense and you are ready to do your first conjuration of Lucifer, because that is what this book says here. Now, this may be a typo and this should have been a different Lucifer here, but that's what it says. So you say some more words, including Emperor Lucifer, Master and Prince of rebellious spirits. I adjure thee to leave thine abode in whatsoever quarter of the world may be situated and come hither to communicate with me. I command and I conjure thee in the name of blah, 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 blah. Then you tell them to appear without noise and without any evil smell, to respond in a clear and intelligible voice, point by point, to all that I shall ask thee, failing which thou shalt be most surely compelled to obedience by the divine. You say a bunch of names and people that scare them with, and then venette. And so...
very demanding invitation.
Also, we were beyond making a circle. It is. You've got to be very specific, right? Because what if you don't say, don't show up smelly?
Right?
And then you get a smelly Lucifer, right? So okay, in the second conjuration, you're commanding Lucifer or Lucifugé to quit thine abode, right? And do it again. And then you said, swearing that I will give thee 1/4 of an hour alone. If thou dost not straightway come hither and communicate with me in an audible and intelligible voice, or if thy personal presence be impossible, dispatch me thy messenger Astaroth in a human form without either noise or evil smell, failing which I will smite thee and thy whole race with a terrible blasting rod into the depth of the bottomless abysses. Note, before your third conjuration, if the spirit is not obeying, read some more words, then you got to smite all the spirits by plunging both the forked extremities of your rod into the flames. Now, I'm not sure how you do that with a straight stick unless you're doing it one at a time. So you're like, one in the other way, smite one way, smite the other way. It doesn't seem very aggressive, but you're not supposed to get scared if there are frightful howls that occur while you're doing this. Those are just naturally things that are occurring. And if there's still no spirit, you've got to plunge the rods back into the fire and say the following from the Grand Clavicle of Solomon. I'm glad Solomon's got a clavicle. And I adjure thee, O spirit, by the power of the great Adonai to appear instanter. And by Elion, by Ariel, by Jehovah. It goes a whole bunch of names. And then it goes and little c dot big case A, big case E, big case A, big case J, big case A, T, M, O. It's like my password. So you got to say your password out loud. And you've got to say that whole thing twice. Then a spirit manifestation should appear, and it should say, "Lo, I am here. What dost thou seek of me? Why dost thou disturb my repose? Spite me no more with that dread rod." Then you get really passive aggressive, and you say, "Hadst thou appeared when I first invoked thee, I had by no means smitten thee. Remember, if the request which I make thee be refused, I am determined to torment thee eternally."
Damn.
And then the spirit will cave. And you present him your desire that I require that thou shalt communicate several times, that means twice, on each night of the week, either with myself or those who are entrusted with my present book, the which thou shalt approve and sign. I permit thee the choice of those hours which may suit thee, if thou apprivest not those which I now enumerate, to wit, on Monday at 9 o'clock and at midnight, on Tuesday at 10 o'clock and at 1 in the morning, on Wednesday at 11 o'clock and at 2 in the morning, at Thursday at 8 and 10 o'clock, on Friday at 7 in the evening and at midnight, on Saturday at 9 in the evening and 11 at night. So further I command thee to surrender me the nearest treasure, and I promise thee as a reward the first piece of gold or silver which I touch with my hands on the first day of every month. Such is my demand. Okay,
that's a very specific schedule and a weird one.
Yes, it's very Calendly, right? And I understand, like, you couldn't see their Google Calendar, so you're not sure what times they are going to be available. So right. I appreciate that you offering these times, but what if Monday at 9 and midnight doesn't work for Lucifugé?
I don't know. That's a lot to ask. I need to check my calendar and what week is it? I don't know, man.
Exactly. This is a recurring meeting.
Yeah.
So the spirit will still say they can't do it unless you give them 50 years, body and soul. So you've got to keep plunging your blasting rod into the fire, and you just keep repeating that clavicle until it submits. And it does agree to do whatever thou desires several times on every night of the week, including Monday at 10 o'clock and at midnight, on Tuesday at 11 o'clock and 1 in the morning, on Wednesday at midnight and 2 in the morning, on Thursday at 8 and 11. Okay. Yeah. So I
don't want to talk to anybody that much either. Come on now.
Right. He also approves thy book and gives thee my true signature. He places myself at thy disposition to appear before thee at thy call, being purified and holding the dreadful blasting rod. And thou shalt open the book, having described the Kabbalistic circle and pronounce the word Rofocale. I promise thee to have friendly commerce with those who are fortified by the possession of the said book, where my true signature stands, provided that they invoke me according to rule on the first occasion that they require me. I also engage to deliver thee the treasure which thou seekest, on condition thou keepest the secret forever inviolable, art charitable to the poor, and dost give me a gold or silver coin on the first day of every month. If thou failest, thou art mine everlastingly. So that's some pretty big stipulations on their part too, right? So I also appreciate they put the being kind to the poor stipulation in there, just to make sure you don't get too greedy when you get this treasure, right? Sure. So you agree to all this. You point to the door with your rod and you follow the spirit. Your assistant's got to stay in that circle though. And you're going to see a large and fierce dog with a collar as resplendent as the sun. That's a gnome. You drive it away with your rod, but you follow it. It'll take you to the treasure. Then you got to cast a spell on it and the treasure, not the dog. And then you carry away what you can backwards and you can't turn around. And the spirit then will take you back to the circle. Then you dismiss the spirit and you offer thanks. So that is how you summon Lucifugé Rofocale, or as they said there, Lucifer. There are other instructions for summoning and making a pact specifically with Lucifer, which we will come back to another time. However, though, because it is spooky season, we are going to have some more lore in which I will give you some of the additional spells that were in this version, including how to get lucky, how to not to impregnate a woman, and so much more. So catch that extra bonus episode that we'll be releasing whenever I feel like it, sometime this week.
All right.
Okay, so back to the thunder crashing and Rowena hiding.
Yes, and Lucifer has appeared. Right as Sam drops the matchbook to trap him in the circle of fire in the sigil. So, and Lucifer's like, oh, I thought that your prayer implied that I was going to join the team. I'm not feeling very warm and fuzzy. But then he sees the horn. And he is like, he's like, that plus me ought to take Amara out. Just got to douse these flames, guys. Just got to let me out of this circle. But Dean's like, no. So he's going to cut his hand and press it on another sigil to try to expel Lucifer from Cass, I guess is what they're trying to do.
Or to pull Cass to the front. Right. I think of this like the layers in Photoshop where you have to arrange them and bring them up and back, yes. Right? So we're trying to push Cass forwards.
Yeah, and Dean's yelling for Castiel to cast Lucifer out, but Lucifer's like, no, sorry, he's happy. It's fine. And Dean just keeps calling out for him and gets mocked by Lucifer. So he's like, look, you got this weapon. I can just wait until the wards fail and then I'll just take it. Lucifer's like, this is not a problem for me at all. So the wards are starting to fail. We can tell. And Crowley's like, bloody hell. And he cock smokes out into Cassifer. So there's 3 in there.
Yeah, and everyone's like, what the fuck? And we're going into Cass's brain and see what's been going inside of Cass this whole time.
And basically, Castiel is kicking it in the bunker kitchen, watching TV on an old antenna TV. That's it. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's just hanging out. And Crowley is there. And just like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, Lucifer mostly leaves me alone. We're just waiting for the battle with the darkness. Just hanging out. And Crowley's like, what the fuck are you doing? You need to snap out of it. The Winchesters are trying to get this figured out. They're trying to expel you so they can put Lucifer back in the cage. And Gus like, I don't think that's a very good idea. I don't know. And Crowley's like, what are you you are in no position to judge a good idea right now. And he's like, Gus like, oh wait, I think I just saw Dean. He wants to expel Lucifer? I don't know about that. Well, all of a sudden, Lucifer's there. So now it's too late. Now it is too late.
And it's Mark P. Lucifer that is there. So now we have like Lucifer,
Crowley, and Castiel all inside Castiel's head. And he's like, you want to put me back in the cage? Nope, I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. And so now outside of the body, Sam and Dean are getting slightly concerned that this is taking a very long time. And Rowena's like, yeah, you're fucking idiots. This is failing. What the fuck? And so Dean
again. And she's just pissed. And it's just like, oh my God, like I never picked the right side. And you can't, Rowena. You just can't. And
and Dean's all upset. But inside Castiel's brain, Lucifer is now beating up Crowley and talking shit. That's the summary, I think. And Castiel's like, oh, they're gonna break something. And then outside of his body, I don't know how he does it because he's not in this body right now. Crowley makes the forehead of his meat suit say, help me, like in a burn. It's very creepy.
It is really creepy and some sort of magic that's going on. Yeah. So then we go back inside their brain and we find out that what Lucifer's really mad about is that Crowley tried to replace him.
Yeah. And the fight's ongoing, but Sam is going to start an exorcism outside and Dean's throwing.
So how does that work?
Who owns the body? I mean, doesn't it only expel demons, or does that work on angels too?
No, because that spell is for expelling demons. So Cass would stay, but shouldn't Lucifer be expelled too? I guess they just say that he's too strong for that exorcism spell.
I guess that's the implication.
But Crowley isn't.
Well, I mean, would they be mad if both of them got expelled? I mean, I don't know if they'd be mad about that.
Because that's what Dean wanted to do.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think they're just trying anything at this point. But they don't really say. And then inside the head, they hear this happening. So Crowley is able to leave. he leaves. I guess there's a distraction. He's not getting his ass kicked so he can leave. I don't know. And he goes back into his body and is like, Lucifer's hold on Castiel is too strong. And as that happened, our wards fail.
No, I think he didn't shoot. I think he got exercised. I think that's why he got out.
He got out.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he got out, and outside, Lucifer's like, yeah, you tried to trick and lie to me, and we could have been friends, but whatever, not anymore. And Crowley has, of course, made an exit because, duh, he's getting the fuck out. So Lucifer is gonna force Sam and Dean to sit and giggle, and he's like, yeah, our relationship's run its course, blah, while Rowena's hiding during all this. So he says that he's gonna kill Sam and Dean. And then fucking Amara Kool-Aid Man's through the wall. That's all I could envision. What's the brick spell? And right then, they're like, anyways, so we've got her. She's in the room. And he's like, yeah, you should have stayed sealed away. But here we go. I've got this cool horn now. And he blasts the light at her, and she's encased in this light that looks kind of like flames, and then it fades away, and the weapon's spent, because we know these are all one and done now, and she's completely unharmed. This is not ideal. Not ideal. And so she summons Lucifer to her, because they're going to have a nice long chat. As Dean calls out once again to Castiel. And she blasts away with Lucifer. Boom.
Yeah, Cassifer, because Cass is still in there.
That's true.
Yeah, so they were not successful in getting that separated, and Rowena runs, and the boys just kind of look at each other in confusion.
Mm-hmm. And they go back to the bunker where they drink a fuck ton of beer. Which, I mean, I kind of don't blame them. Shit's kind of wrecked, Not a lot of judgment on this one. And they're like mother, like son, they both take off. And they're like, well, I wonder what Rowena did, what she was doing with Amara. And Dean's like, oh, she was playing odds, obviously. And Sam's like, well, apparently Archangel and God's power is not enough to take down God's sister.
Yeah, we're going to do some supernatural math. So Archangel plus Hand of God is not greater than God's sister.
Yes.
However, Archangel is not God's chosen. So the equation might be changed if you substitute Archangel with God's chosen. Correct. And then that may work. Yeah. But that's not the equation they had.
So now
that was your math for today.
That's your math for today. So now we're back to square one.
Dun dun.
Of course.
Yeah. So the horn's cached, and Sam is. This is a really interesting kind of like conversation between the two of them, where Sam is apologizing for siding with Cass, but Dean's like, nope, we got this. We have this policy now that we swore off getting in the way when one person makes a choice the other one disagrees with.
Yeah, it's real weird that suddenly he's like that. I don't know. This is very inconsistent, but they swear that this is the decision that was made. I don't know when this has been applied consistently, but now they want to apply Castiel decided to sacrifice himself for the greater good to take this role because he thought this would win, and so now we're going to accept that and let him play it out. Now we go back to Amara and Lucifer, and she is going to slam him against a wall, and he's like, no, I know we've got beef, but I could be of use. We both have an axe to grind with God. He can't handle both of us at the same time. And she's like, no, I can't trust you. I did once. And then what did you do? You sealed me away. Which is like kind of the whole point. And so he's like, well, as God's favorite, I might be able to make him show himself. And then we can witness the destruction of creation. And Lucifer's like, I'm not sure he's going to show though. And then she's gonna I don't know. It's just really weird, like blasting and glowing and a train. It's odd.
Yeah, the basic point is that Amara wants she wants God to come out, and God is not coming out to meet her. So she thinks that maybe Lucifer is the one thing he can still care about. So she is going to hurt him until God shows up. And he's just like, I don't think you need to count on God giving a fuck about me because he hasn't shown up for me before. So,
yeah.
And that's
but
where
they're at like
end.
a weird train yard. It's a very odd scene.
Yeah. I mean, she's the darkness. She's going to torture people where she tortures them.
I guess.
Yeah. So, do we have any angels or anybody to learn about?
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
We got a couple of cast notes. Noel was played by Andrew Wheeler. It's a guy from Beginning. He's been in episodes of MacGyver, Tin Man, iZombie, Riverdale, Fargo. He was the Mayflower ring steward in Best in Show, a guardsman in The Day the Earth Stood Still, and the sheriff in Goblin. Jophiel, I always say it wrong. Anyways, was played by Graeme Duffy, Graeme is his name. He's been in episodes of Smallville, 9 episodes of 4400, Fringe, Almost Human, iZombie, Bates Motel. He was in a half a dozen episodes of Siren, a few episodes of Nancy Drew. He was the orange elf in Elf. He was an ad agency executive in Step Up All In and a tech in Chappie. He's also done a lot of Hallmark. And our angel number 1, which is our interrupting angel that was threatened to be smoted, was played by Mick Biskov. He's Dutch. And he's been in episodes of Almost Human, Once Upon a Time, iZombie, and The Magicians.
I kind of want to make an interrupting angel knock knock joke.
Yeah.
So what did you think? I know you said you thought that was a weird way to end it, but
and I get it. As we're finally getting to the battle of what's going to happen with Amara. I mean, we kind of had a lot of episodes this season where she wasn't even like a thing, and then we're really kind of dealing with the Castiel issue. So I think that's kind of an interesting way. I think it was interesting that Rowena's not dead. Not that anybody's ever dead on this show, so it's fine. But yeah, I thought it was an entertaining episode. I liked some of like the corporate speak stuff that they were playing on in Heaven with Lucifer, and I like that we are propelling the storyline forward despite some minor inconsistencies.
Yeah. So yeah, at least, you know, it was not a Monster of the Week episode. This was definitely a season 1 as we're moving towards the season finale. And yeah, entertaining, obviously. So glad Rowena's back. Her and Amara have interesting chemistry. So it is always nice to see 2 females playing, you know, each other in this show, especially. So yeah, I mean, good episode and not a bummer, I guess, sort of. The cast is still gone, so that's a bummer.
That's weird. Yeah.
All right. So on that, I think that's how we're going to end this. So on that note, cheers, Joe.
Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Get It production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.